Okay, this last segment on electroencephalography is going to introduce just kind of some of the lab-related stuff you need to know. Just a reminder that electroencephalography is measuring electricity coming from the brain and putting it in a graphical record. And the electrodes, again, are going to be on the surface of the scalp. So in this lab today, or whenever you do the lab, you will be recording EEG from a subject who is awake. That subject will be you. There will be different segments where your eyes are open and closed. Just be aware, this isn't ideal. All of these were designed to have one person being the subject with their eyes closed, another person reading the lab manual and telling them what to do. Now open your eyes, now close your eyes. You're going to have to read all of the instructions ahead of time, know what you need to do. If you need a timer on your phone to tell you when to do the next stage, you're going to have to do it that way. It's not ideal because you're going to see some blur in between your eyes open and your eyes closed because you're having to pay attention to what you're doing. You're not going to get the best signal in the world, but you should be able to identify, nonetheless, all four of the wave components of the EEG in this lab. So a couple of tips. You're going to be putting 3 electrodes on your scalp. The electrode to which you'll be hooking your ground up, your black ground, should go behind the ear. And ideally, you're going to want to hold these electrodes in place for a minute, half a minute, something to try to have them stick. This lab is incredibly challenging to get the electrodes attached to your scalp. This is especially true if you have a haircut like he does. It turns out something like a buzz cut makes it even harder. Your goal is going to be to part the hair and such that you see your own scalp line there. And you're going to want to find places where you can see as much scalp as possible and as little hair as possible and get that electrode sticking on the scalp. And you're going to try to have it not be floating on top of your hair, or you can imagine you're not going to get the electrical signal coming from the brain if it's just floating on the hair. So once you get your electrodes in place, it seems like they're pretty solid. One best practice is to wrap something around your head if you have a headband at home. In the lab, we use paper towels and just wrap people up in paper towels. You can get very creative with this, but it's ideal to have something to try to hold them in place. Absolute worst case scenario, you'll be holding them in place with your own fingers. We've had to do that in some of the labs with certain people that had the electrodes that just weren't sticking otherwise. And then you're going to want to drape the wires kind of over your ear and then over your shoulder so they're out of your way, because the more the wires are moving around, the more they're going to be picking up fake signals just from the movement of the wires themselves.